Hello, in this video I'll present a practical example how it should be ideally dealt with non-conformities issued during a certification audit to IATF 16949. In the end of the audit, at the closing meeting, the auditor has to present a draft report with conclusions and audit findings. Then the auditor will send by email the draft report and a file with extension JSON or XML. This JSON or XML file is in fact a template for documented actions to the nonconformities and could be opened in a specific tool called IATF NC CARA. You can start this application in your browser by typing the address nc-cara.aiatfglobaloversight.org. It's recommended to start the application in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge because it was programmed for these two browsers, and in other browsers its functions may not work properly. Work with the application is quite intuitive. However, if you need some help, you can always look at section Information, where there are several links where you can find help. If you are a beginner, I recommend you to start by watching this short video tutorial, which is for 5 minutes. Let's now load an example file with non-conformity and the actions. Let's see the non-conformity. The issue was found in process production, and the requirements of the standard that were not fully met were verification of job setups. At winding of coils, the records of wire tension at setup and then records from inspections as specified in the control plan were not duly done. The auditor classified the finding as a minor nonconformity, so the organization has 60 days to submit all actions in sections S1 through S7, which we will explore further. The auditor will then evaluate the actions, and if the auditor will not find them acceptable, you will have another 30 days to submit correction. Remember, the finding has to be closed after 90 days at latest. In this example, we have a minor nonconformity, so follow-up could be done remotely. Therefore, it's very important to properly carry out, document, and attach objective evidence at each section. Let's now look at each section in detail. Section S1, containment action including timing and a responsible person. In other words, quick actions that shall prevent continuation of the undesired situation. There are two aspects that have to be considered. First, we must consider how to protect customers from delivery of non-conforming products. And I mean both future deliveries and already delivered products. Secondly, we must consider quick actions to re-establish effectiveness of the quality management system, which might result also in actions to remedy the past ineffective operation. In our example, there are 3 containment actions. First, production manager will train the setters and then verify effectiveness of the training by checking the records are properly done. Second, the quality manager and the product engineer reviewed the other measured parameters in order to consider the risk for the customers. Luckily, the other measured parameters implied that there is no increased risk. Otherwise, the customer would have had to be informed. Third, the quality manager carried out a special audit to explore the extent of the issue. It was found that except the 2 older coil winding machines, no other instances of missing records from setup and inspections were found. An important point, do not forget to provide responsible person and the deadline. The deadlines should be reasonably short. Section S2, Evidence of Implementation. An objective evidence of implementation has to be provided. In addition to description here of what was done, there are files that prove the implementation. The system accepts PDF and JPEG files. That means that if you have, for example, a document in Microsoft Word or in Excel, you have to save it as and then choose PDF format. I'd like to point out that good practice is the numbering of actions and the file names to link it together. Here we have action number 1 proven by JPEG of document from the training of setters. Action 2 is a document for assessing the risk of delivery of non-conforming production. Action number 3, internal audit, result is recorded. And finally, the 4th document is management team meeting minutes. At this meeting, both documents, audit findings and assessment of impact of not measuring wire tension at coil winding machines were presented. This document proves involvement of senior management. Section S3, Root Cause Analysis. This is very important section because by finding the root causes, we can define the right corrective actions that will prevent recurrence of the issue in the future. This will strengthen the quality management system and make it more robust. In order to find the root causes, we have to use a structured method. The IATF 16949 standard does not specify which method shall be used. The typical methods used in practice are the 5 whys method, which was used here, because this non-conformity is a kind of an organizational issue. In case of a complex and multi-factor problem, which is often related to non-conforming products or services, it would be more appropriate to use the fishbone or Ishikawa analysis. When using 5 whys, I'd like to point out, first, asking 5 times is not a strict number. We can only stop asking when we get an answer or a cause which could be addressed and put under control. This means that there could be more or less than 5 questions. Second, if we have an answer, human factor, we can either replace the person by sophisticated device like a robot or automated measuring system. But unfortunately, this usually doesn't pay off. Therefore, we have to continue asking to explore the situation. What could help us to identify what's behind the pattern of failures is a guidance called Dirty Dozen. There are 12 factors which increase the likelihood of human error and could be addressed. Last but not least, we shall explore not only why this issue occurred, but also why the issue was not revealed. In this example, after second why, the analysis continues in 2 branches, A and B. And the question is ended when there was a cause that the team considered that could be put under control. NC CARA tool also reminds us whether the issue can occur in another process or at another product. In this example, the organization identified that the same causes are relevant also for their second division machining. In section S4, we have to summarize and clearly state the root causes that will be addressed by systemic corrective actions. We see the IATF NC CARA tool enables to add additional supporting files, and this is in section 3 as well as in section 4. It depends on how much in detail you will provide your description in the text windows. In our example, the text is sufficiently detailed, so no additional files were provided. Please also note the marking. Final root causes are here marked with letters A and B as a result of the two branches of the root cause analysis. This marking then continues in the systemic corrective actions, which are also marked as A and B, and this marking then continues through the remaining sections of this document. This is practically and clearly shows the auditor what are the links. Section S5, Systemic Corrective Actions, including timing and responsible person. Systemic corrective actions shall be based on the identification of root causes and shall ensure that the root causes are eliminated or at least the risks are reasonably mitigated. Again, each action shall have its responsible person and a deadline. In some actions that would be really complex and would be in fact a kind of a project, it would be practical to provide a file with the project management tool that will show the project plan in details, and you can upload it here. Don't forget that in case of changes in production flow, you shall consider also update of FMEAs, control plans, and eventually also PPAPs. Section S6. We have to provide an objective evidence of implementation of the systemic corrective actions. There is a brief description in the text window, and then there are edit files as objective evidence of the corrective actions. And again, distinctions A and B show what is it linked to. Section S7, verification of the corrective actions, effective implementation. This point is sometimes tricky because it has to be proven that the issues do not occur over time again. In the text window, there is a brief description how this was done, and then there is an objective evidence as a proof. In this example, there are snaps of the production area dashboards where there are actions to manage capacities in case of a long-term absences, and for the second corrective action, we have a file from the information system that shows that measurements of the wire tension are continually done. All the steps S1 to S7 are expected by your auditor in order to accept your actions and close the non-conformity. Now, in order to finalize your report, state your name as organization's representative and also the date. By entering your name, you will lock the text for editing. If you need to come back to editing, simply delete your name, which will unlock the editing mode. Once you finish the document, click on Save and Cease for Auditor. The system will create a JSON file in your folder Downloads. Take this file and add it as an attachment to an email to your auditor and send it. Do not forget that you have to send the completely filled JSON file within 60 days. However, in case of a major non-conformity, you will have to submit the sections S1 through S5 in addition within 15 days after the audit. So we are almost in the end, and I would like to add you some useful hints how to effectively work with IATF NC CARA tool. First, you can activate spell checker by opening settings menu in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. Second, whenever you finish working with the tool, although it remembers everything in its buffer, it's useful to make a backup of your work in progress. You can save your work by clicking of Save Report, which will create also a JSON file in the folder downloads. And one last point regarding limitations. The IATF NC CARA tool allows maximum size of the attached file to be 5 megabyte, and the maximum size of the whole JSON file is limited to 25 megabytes. If your files with objective evidence would cause that the JSON file limit will be exceeded, then contact your auditor and agree with him or her how to send them these files. And that's all for now. I would like to thank my partners, the quality managers, for help with preparation of this video, and I hope you will find some useful points in it. Good luck!